Chapter 4. What Caspian Did There. Next morning, the Lord Byrne called his guests early, and after breakfast he asked Caspian to order every man he had into full armour. Caspian and his people, and Byrne with a few of his, put out for Narrow Haven, where Gumpus sat in the castle.
Your Sufficiency, it seems to be the king.
What is the meaning of this?
The governor is in the king's chair. Remove him.
What?
My lord, you have not given us quite the welcome we expected.
Well,
We are the king of Narnia.
but there was nothing in the correspondence, nothing in the minutes. I have not been notified of any such thing.
We are come to inquire into your Sufficiency's conduct of your office. I want to know why you have permitted this abominable and unnatural traffic in slaves to grow up here.
For export, Your Majesty. We are a great centre of trade.
Tell me what purpose they serve except to put money into the pockets of men such as Pug. This trade must stop.
I can take no responsibility for any such measure.
Very well then. We relieve you of your office.
And before Gumpus quite realised what was happening, Byrne was taking the oath to govern the lone islands in accordance with the old customs and laws of Narnia. Caspian, with Byrne and Drinian, made for the slave market. There was a great crowd, and Pug, on a platform, was roaring out in a raucous voice,
10 presents from the gentleman in the corner. 50, 80, 18 is better for lot 23. And if I... What is this? To the King of Narnia!
Your life is forfeit, Pug, for laying hands on our royal person yesterday, but your ignorance is pardoned. Now, where are my friends?
Oh, the dear little girl and nice young gentleman. They were snapped up at once.
Where is my other friend?
You mean the one that won't shut up? So we've been free with the other lots and still no one would have him. Tax. Bring out sulky.
Caspian, I see, as usual, been enjoying yourself somewhere where the rest of us were prisoners. I suppose you haven't found out about the British consul.
The slave trade was forbidden in all our dominions a quarter of an hour ago. Pug, bring out your takings to the last minim.
Does your good majesty mean to make me a beggar?
It is better to be a beggar than a slave. I declare every slave in this market free!
That night they had a great feast in the castle of Narrow Haven. For now they were preparing to leave all known lands and seas behind them, and many thought that if you sailed too far east, you would come into the surges of a sea without lands, floating islands inhabited by headless men, and beyond that, Aslan country. Byrne could only tell them that he had seen his 6 companions sail away eastward, and that nothing had ever been heard of them again. Chapter 5. The Storm, and What Came of It. The next few days were delightful. Lucy thought she was the most fortunate girl in the world as she woke each morning to see the reflections of the sunlit water dancing on the ceiling of her cabin. Then she would go on deck and take a look from the forecastle at a sea which was a brighter blue each morning. But this pleasant time did not last. There came an evening when Lucy saw a great rack of clouds building itself up in the west. All the waves behind them seemed to take on unusual shapes. The ship seemed to move uneasily as if she felt danger behind her. In a moment, everyone became frantically busy. The storm struck them. It seemed to Lucy that a great valley in the sea opened just before their bows. They were rushing into the dark. When it was over, the adventurers found they were in a bay. What awaited them on this island was going to concern Eustace more than anyone else.
We may be able to fell some of the trees to build a new mast and repair the casks.
There may be game on the island as well.
We have a lot of work to do on the poor old Dawn Treader.
His heart sank. It looked as if their first day on the longed-for land was going to be quite as hard work as a day at sea. Then a delightful idea occurred to him. Nobody was looking. Why shouldn't he simply slip away and not rejoin the others till the day's work was over? He felt it would do him good, but he would take great care to keep the bay and the ship in sight He wouldn't like to be left behind in this country. Chapter 6. The Adventures of Eustace. Eustace stared round the unknown valley, and here and there Eustace saw black, burnt patches. About 15 yards away from him was a pool of clear, smooth water. He heard a noise behind him. Edmund or Lucy or you would have recognized it at once, but Eustace had read none of the right books. The thing that came out of the cave was something he had never even imagined. It moved very slowly towards the pool. There came from it a great croaking or clanging cry, and after a few twitches and convulsions, it lay perfectly still with one claw in the air. For a long time, Eustace did not dare to move. But one couldn't wait forever. At last he came up to it. He was quite sure now that it was dead. Almost immediately afterwards, the sun disappeared. There was no use trying to climb out of the valley as long as this lasted. He bolted for the only shelter in sight, the dragon's cave. Treasure. Eustace had never thought much of treasure, but he saw at once the use it would be in this new world which he had so foolishly stumbled into.
I've seen that before.
Seen it? Why, of course you have. It is the sign of a great Narnian house. This is the Lord Octesian's arm ring.
Eustace fell asleep, and a dragon's horde, with greedy, dragonish thoughts in his heart. He had become a dragon himself.
I'm afraid we have another problem. A dragon has just flown over the treetops and lighted on the beach. We must just keep close watch and go down to the beach and give it battle.
A moment later, they were marching, and there, on the sand, like a giant lizard, lay the dragon. But when it saw them, instead of rising up and blowing fire and smoke, the dragon retreated.
Oh, it's crying. Those are tears.
I shouldn't trust to that, Ma'am. That's what crocodiles do, to put you off your guard.
The dragon shook its head.
Dragon, are you someone enchanted?
The dragon nodded.
It was a human? I wonder who?
Are you the Lord Octesian?
It shook its head.
Oh. Lucy, you don't think...
Oh, it could be.
What are you two thinking?
Dragon, you're not Eustace by any chance?